What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I want to take a look at a fantastic bantamweight by the name of Charlie Phil Rosenberg. Charlie Phil Rosenberg was a phenomenal bantamweight fighter. Fantastic. Now, the thing with Charlie Phil Rosenberg, he was a neighborhood fighter to start off. But in his fourth professional fight, he fought a fighter by the name of Frankie Gennaro. Frankie Gennaro was a flyweight, but he was a dynamic fighter. And you would hear about him a lot in a lot of the profiles that I have covered the fighters. He was an opponent of them. He was a dynamic fighter. He lost a 12-round decision to Frankie Gennaro in his fourth professional fight. Fantastic. Charlie's greatest individual achievement was when he defied nature of all elements concerned on March 20, 1925, when he got down to 116 pounds to win the World Bantamweight Championship from Cannonball Eddie Martin. Fascinating. That might not sound so difficult, but when you take into consideration that Charlie weighed in the neighborhood of 160 pounds 6 weeks before the fight, the task was Herculean. That's physical torture. But he made the weight with 2 pounds to spare and still managed to win the title from the tough little competitor. When Rosenberg was matched with Bushy Graham for the title on February 4th, 1927, he came in overweight by 4 pounds. The title was declared vacant, but he went through with Bushy Graham over a 15-round stretch. His last fight took place on January 4th, 1929, when he was beaten by Johnny Dundee, the Scotch Wop. They don't make fighters like that anymore. Fascinating. Let's take a look at Charlie Phil Rosenberg's fight record. Charles Green was his name, and he was born August 15, 1902 in New York City. Nationality Jewish American. He weighed 118 pounds, and he stood 5 foot 4 inches and was managed by Harry Segal. Now, Charlie Phil Rosenberg began his professional career in 1921. He lost to Charles Pigno. Charles Bingo was a very good fighter. He lost to him in 4 rounds. Al Diamond, another good fighter. Bobby Bolin again. He lost to him in 6 and he lost to him in 12. Harry Martin in 4. 1922, he defeated Mickey Nelson, 10 rounds. Sammy Bunch, 12 rounds. Willie Darcy, 10 rounds. Frankie Gennaro, as you can see here, he fought on May 23rd and October 21st. He lost to him twice, 12 rounds. Knockouts, 1923. Billy Pimpers, 4 rounds. He defeated Mike Moran, 12 rounds. Fascinating. He would go on and face on January 15th Willie Darcy, New York, lose to him in 12 rounds. February 16th, Sammy Cohen, New York. He would get a 6-round draw with Sammy Cohen, February 26th, Willie Darcy in New York. He would lose to him in 12 rounds. He would lose to Carl Duane in New York in 12 rounds, July 18th, 1923. He lose to Charles Bud Taylor in New York in 12 rounds, October 19th. And then he would lose to Eddie Cannonball Martin, November 29th in New York. He would lose to him in 6 rounds in 1923. But in 1924, January 29th, he would face Eddie Cannonball Martin again in Brooklyn and lose to him again in 6 rounds. Gaylord Kid Lewis, New York, defeat him in 10 rounds. Eddie Cannonball Martin again in New York. This time he would have a 10-round draw. June 3rd, 1924. 1925. He would fight Bucks Joseph, New York City, 10-round victory on January 2nd. March 20th. Eddie Martin, Cannonball, New York City. He would defeat him in 15 rounds and win the World Bantamweight title. Phenomenal feat. He would face Harry Gordon twice, May 11th and May 16th. No decision 10, and would defeat him in 10 rounds. Harold Smith in Chicago, no decision in 10 rounds on May 22nd. Then you go on and face Eddie Shea, July 23rd, New York City, knocking him out in 4 rounds. California Joe Lynch, Oakland, California. You lose to him in 10 rounds on December 2nd of 1925. Doc Snell was a very good fighter in Los Angeles. Lose to him on a foul in 6 rounds. Title bout. 1926.
Hey, quick question. Do you like pink things?
George Bush, March 2nd, 1926, St. Louis. Defeat him in 10 rounds. He would face him again. Youngstown, Ohio. Defeat him in 10 rounds. Bobby Eber, Cleveland, Ohio. Knock him out in 10 rounds. Midget Smith, July 30th, Cleveland. Won in a foul in 5 rounds. Petey Mack, December 20th, Jersey City, New Jersey. No decision and 10 rounds. 1927, he would face Benny Schwartz, January 3rd, Baltimore. Defeat him in 12 rounds. Bushy Graham, February 4th, New York City. Defeat him in 15 rounds. Rosenberg unable to make weight. Title declared vacant. And both Rosenberg and Graham suspended for 1 year due to secret agreement. 1928, March 10th, Harry Scott, New York City. Defeat him in 6 rounds. January 4th, Johnny Dundee, Scotchwop, New York City. Defeat him in 10 rounds. Now, Johnny Dundee had defeated Charlie Phil Rosenberg before. And as you can see, in 29, he would defeat the Scotchwop in a 10-round victory. And then in 1942, he would go into the U.S. Army. Charlie Phil Rosenberg had total bouts of 64, 7 knockouts. He won on a decision 28 times, won on a foul once, has 6 draws, lost on a decision 14 times. Lost on a foul once, was stopped no times, no decision 7 times, and no contest 0. So once again, a fascinating career for Charlie Phil Rosenberg. And this is one of the fighters that you don't hear of. You don't hear much about Charlie Phil Rosenberg, but he was a dynamic fighter. So much, though, that I'm going to dig into the Police Gazette scrapbook and look into Charlie Phil Rosenberg. As you can see here, I'm in the Police Gazette scrapbook. I'm looking at Charlie Phil Rosenberg. He loses his title on the scale, but outpoints Bushy Graham in the ring. Now, we had just spoke about that. It's for the bantamweight title. The bantam drops, which means that he lost his title on the scale. Charlie's shoulders dropped when he failed to make the weight. Bushy tried, and his easy victim in 15-round bout. But as you saw, both men were suspended for a year for a secret agreement. because they went on with the bout anyway. And they weren't honest. They said that they agreed that either man didn't have to make weight. And that wasn't the original contract. But Charlie Phil Rosenberg is the latest exponent of the manly art of self-defense or modified murder, whichever you prefer. As the boys know technically as a Mexican standoff, Charlie has somewhat unusual experience of losing his title as bantamweight champion of the world at the same time that he easily defeated Bondi Bushy Graham. That was in Utica, New York. The outstanding challenger for the title in a 15-round bout. Madison Square Garden, New York City. On the night of February 4th. So Bushy Graham was from Utica, New York. And he almost got a dream of a lifetime. But Charlie Phil Rosenberg was too much for him. Rosenberg gave Graham his chance at the 118-pound title. Fighters who had that title was George Dixon, Terry McGovern, Jimmy Barry, Bob Booker, Kid Williams, and Pete Herman. Fascinating. Charlie Phil Rosenberg defeats Krug in a slow bout. Rosenberg knocks out Eddie Shea in a great battle for the Bantamweight Championship of the world. As you can see here, Charlie meets fiery Chicagoan at his own game of slugging and wafts him to dreamland in the 4th round. The World Bantamweight Championship, held by Charlie Phil Rosenberg, had a stormy time of it when its possessor met with Tornadic Eddie Shea of Chicago at the Velodrome in New York on the night of July 23rd. Shades of Dempsey Firpo. Sounds like some fight. Here you have Charlie Phil Rosenberg. He had become the new Bantamweight King when he defeated Eddie Cannonball Martin for the Bantamweight Championship of the world. So salute to Charlie Phil Rosenberg. Fascinating fighter. This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. And here you have Charlie Phil Rosenberg snuffs out Eddie Shea championship aspiration. And you can see Eddie Shea being administered by his handlers when he was flatlined by this man here, Charlie Phil Rosenberg. I salute to my subscribers. Salute to this very good fight. I enter this fight into my Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I enter Charlie Phil Rosenberg in the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series as a phenomenal bantamweight. Great fighters will never be forgotten on this channel. Salute.